Flying cars, delivery drones, air taxis, the stuff we've only seen in sci-fi movies. Well, guess what? It's not sci-fi anymore. Governments and companies are throwing billions of dollars at making this a reality, promising us this amazing future where we just zip across our cities through the sky. They're calling it the low-altitude economy, and it's supposed to be the next huge thing.
But okay, let's get real for a second. We've all seen the slick, futuristic promo videos, right? But what's the actual reality here? Can our crowded cities really handle a whole new layer of traffic up in the air? In this explainer, we're going to peel back the hype and look at the hard numbers, the physics, and the real-world limits.
All right, so let's jump right in. To really get this, we first need to understand the official vision. Governments, like the one in Hong Kong, are looking at this as a massive, massive economic opportunity.
This line right here, from the city's latest policy address, it really says it all. The big idea is to treat the sky right above our heads, basically everything below 1,000 meters, as a brand new frontier, a new resource for the economy, just like land or the sea. It's an incredibly ambitious plan.
And listen, this isn't just talk, there is a whole playbook in place. The strategy covers everything from boosting new tech and AI in communications to running pilot programs for things like package delivery, all the way to rewriting the rules for drones. And this is the big one, planning for completely new infrastructure, like vertiports. Think of them as mini airports for these new flying vehicles.
So that's the grand vision. It sounds amazing, right? But we all know that big plans can hit some serious turbulence when they meet the real world. So, to really put this vision to the test, let's bring it down to earth with a real-world example. We're going to analyze a single, totally normal commuter route in Hong Kong, a flight in an eVTOL, that's an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, from Yuen Long in the north all the way to the central business district. This helps us take the abstract idea of air taxis and see if it actually works in practice.
So the first and most obvious question for any new kind of transportation is, can anyone actually afford it? Let's take a look at the money.
Whoa, okay, just look at that price gap. Projections show a single trip in an eVTOL could cost anywhere from 200 to a whopping 800 Hong Kong dollars. Now compare that to a regular taxi or a ride-hailing service which could be as low as 66 bucks. I mean, even in the most optimistic, best-case scenario, the air taxi is still way, way more expensive.
And there are some very solid reasons for that crazy price tag. You're talking about building brand new infrastructure. The aircraft themselves are incredibly expensive to buy and maintain. You still have to pay pilots, at least until the tech is fully autonomous. Then you pile on insurance, regulatory costs. It all adds up. This is shaping up to be a premium luxury service, not a replacement for your daily taxi ride.
But you know what? Let's just forget about the cost for a minute. Let's pretend it's free. There is an even bigger problem, and it all comes down to scale. On this one single route, taxis make about 500 to 1,000 trips every day. A single, dedicated airlane for eVTOLs running at absolute maximum capacity could carry maybe 600 passengers. It can barely match the taxi volume on just one of thousands of routes in a city. It simply cannot scale.
So the economics are one major hurdle. But now we come up against something you just can't change, the hard laws of physics and geography. This is where the shiny vision crashes into the concrete reality of our cities.
See, these vehicles aren't flying away up there with the commercial jets. They operate in what's called the urban low-altitude airspace. And honestly, that's a very, very narrow slice of the sky. Just think about the small gap between the average rooftop and a regulatory ceiling of about 300 meters. That's their entire playground.
And because that little window of air is so tight, and because you absolutely have to maintain safe distances from buildings and other aircraft, you can realistically only fit between 1 and 3 vertical flight lanes over the entire city. That's it. It's an incredible bottleneck waiting to happen. Now, I want you to look at this number. Just this one number, 150. Because it represents what might be the single biggest deal breaker for this entire idea in cities like Hong Kong or Shenzhen.
That number, 150, is the average number of days per year that bad weather disrupts everything. We're talking about more than a third of the year where heavy rain, typhoons, thunderstorms, and thick fog would ground these fleets completely. It makes them totally unreliable. I mean, could you rely on a commute that's just out of service for 150 days a year? No way.
So let's put all the pieces together. You've got extremely high costs, very low capacity, severe physical space constraints, and massive unreliability because of the weather. a very, very different picture of the low-altitude economy starts to emerge, doesn't it?
So what does a realistic assessment look like? Well, there are definitely some viable uses here. Things like high-value airport transfers, delivering emergency medical supplies, or maybe high-end tourism. These are all great ideas, but each one is balanced against a huge structural problem, whether it's the cost, the weather, or the lack of landing spots. It seems the low-altitude economy is destined to be a niche service, not a mainstream one.
So here's the verdict when you look at all the data. This isn't a revolution that's going to replace our subways and buses. It's a symbolic and strategic overlay, a premium layer of transport for a select few, and a powerful way for a city to brand itself as futuristic and innovative.
Which leaves us with one last question to think about. Is this low-altitude economy a genuine new engine for economic growth, or is it really just a high-tech, very expensive luxury accessory for our future cities? Based on the reality on the ground and in the air, the answer seems to be leaning pretty heavily towards the latter.